Hey people, it's Dan Larson. So welcome to the newest Synthesize Sunday episode, and in this episode I want to show you how I made this very nice stabby dubstepy kind of stuff. Okay, so this is a step from my very old song Wave Shock, and let me just reduce or remove the drums. Okay, so let me show you how I layered this sound to create this awesome step. Well, I think this is very, very cool. So the first thing that I want to show you is the process on the group, because as you can see, the step group contains all the layers, and I use an OTT, and that is very important because it will compress so heavily all the stuff. So you will hear every element not separately, but as a whole. So it is very important to compress these sounds very heavily. Let me show it to you without the reverb and the OTT. And the other benefit is that, as you can see, I'm using a kick here, a kick, another instance from the original kick basically, and the OTT adds an effect, a sound that if it was sidechained. And I really dig this sound because without the OTT, it's just too direct. But with some OTT, everything comes together pretty nicely. Now I'm using an EQ8. It's just really just a touch to it, and another compressor. It adds another aggressive touch to it, and an EQ8 to chop off the very lows because, as I told you, it contains a kick. Okay, so you don't need to follow these rules or this method that I'm showing you, you know, adding the original kick to the stab, but somehow I felt that it can give a very nice transient to the stab. And actually I really like it, especially with this huge process with the two instances of compressors and EQs. So without the kick, this is how it sounds, and adding the drums, and the reverb because it is important. Okay, so this is how it sounds without the extra kick layer and with the kick layer. So as you can hear, it sounds like if it was sidechained, but in a very, very smart and very cool way. So I really love this technique, you know, to adding the kick to it with very heavy compression on the full group.
Who wants the bass?
I use the crash. Let me remove the reverb again. This is a very important thing if you want to have very punchy and very crazy steps, to add very short, choked crash sounds. Very cool. Okay, the next thing is a saw pad. It is very, very basic, and I'm sure that you already know what this stuff contains. So I'm using operator with 4 saw waves, and all of them are detuned a little, and I added 2 voices of unison and the pitch envelope to add even more transient, even more pitch glide to it. You know, that makes the sound a lot more interesting and not very static, not very boring. And the next thing that is a very, very cool thing is I'm using this scale device, and I added a house 4 to go chord 2, and this way it really doesn't matter which notes I'm using here for the saw pad. Everything will come together and everything will be in note, in key. So this is a very, very nice thing. And after the saw, the operator, I use an OTT and an EQ8 to add some color to it and compress it heavily, because this is very, very nice for saws. I mean, I really love how it sounds after all this. So an OTT can always be very, very handy for your saws. And now the most important thing is a character layer, as I call it. You know, without a very heavy character on the sound, these saws and these kicks and crashes, even if you add a voice layer, vocal layer, it will just sound very boring. It really doesn't have any original and unique character to it. So that is a massive sound, and this is how it sounds on its own. It's very, very simple. Again, I use squares and saws, as you can see this first wavetable, and the second is the same, the third is the same. I only detuned them and I added the seventh on the second. And the modulation oscillator and the noise, basically nothing is activated here, only some shapers, some drives, and the most important part here is the filters, because we are having a comp filter and a screen filter. So without the filters, it's just not interesting at all. Adding the scream. The comp filter really gives that sound to it, and the scream just helps it out. Brings out all those very nice screechy kind of sound that really fits to this tab. Okay, the next thing is a bass layer, very, very simple. I use Serum for it, a simple saw mixed with some noise and compressed and distorted pretty heavily. So this is a very, very basic thing. And an EQ to drop off the very lows, because we don't need it basically. And I added a vocal stuff, as I call it. This is all, with some chorus, very, very basic stuff. And this is how I layer STABS. And I hope this helped you a little. I was Larson, and don't forget to check my academy if you want to learn more about advanced music production and sound design. I was Larson. Peace.